Hi, Guido Fox here. Welkom bij een nieuw book report. Today I want to talk with you with this wonderful book from Douglas Smith about the holy man from Russia, Rasputin, the only awaked man who was close to the Tsar from the Reich of Tsars in Russia. Um, the mad monk, they call them the sex maniac. He was slandered by life. So many newspapers were throwing bad about him, but actually he was an awaked guy. He was a spiritual evolved person, and I want to talk with you later about the slander what also Osho had, what Socrates had, what Jesus had in his life. Every time a new man is coming on earth, the slander is upon him. So Rasputin was close to the Tsar, he healed his son, he has healing powers, and he was an awake guy, and there happened a lot in his life. It is a really, really dramatic story about his life from his youth, from his family life until his trip to Moscow. Um, I look from a spiritual mind, a spiritual evolvement in my life through this book. So I'm not gonna tell you in which cities he lived, which train he was getting, all those kind of facts. I tell you the story behind. I tell you the Enlightenment story from this very, very intellectual, smart person who was very popular in the higher ranks of the old Russian Tsar kingdom. So I want to start with you on page 2. And on page 2, there is already something interesting, and that he was from his youth uneducated. He didn't go to school. He was coming from a criminal horse family who were stealing horses from farmers. So he was uneducated and he was raised up a little bit on a bad way. But the main point is here, because he was uneducated, he was staying outside the matrix school systems. Yay! What did you learn on your schools? Really nothing. The matrix school systems didn't make you enlightenment. The school systems bring you not further, really further in life. So actually, his bad luck was creating a good luck for his spiritual enlightenment process. He was an uneducated person from the wilderness from Siberia. It was cold and icy in Siberia, and he was uneducated and lived in the wilderness, the cold wilderness of Siberia. They call them also the Siberian Prophet, the animal prophet. He was looking as an animal, a tiger, and also his behavior was animalistic, but also very childlike, and also very gentle, and also very honest, and also very, very intellectual, smart on later terms when he was going into self education, self empowerment, self development. So, without the influences of the matrix mediocre systems where you were in. So on page 2 and page 15, Douglas Smith was referring to his uneducated and never formerly shaped by the matrix person. So that brings you to the palace of the Tsar and have a very big influence in the decision making of the policy of the Tsar. Also, per example, not going to war. There was an example in this book that he was responsible to not go to war to the Russian and his enemies, creating conflicts. So he had a big influence on the Tsar, and he was responsible for big decisions to maybe do nothing with something. Page 2. He had an amazing, great sexual drive. He had so many women around him. He lived with 8 women in a house for some times. After he escaped the family in Siberia, he had to go out, he had to go search for his God consciousness. He escaped the family. He left children behind and he was going to search for God and more variation of women. And people from the Matrix cannot understand this behavior of sexual drive, but I can say that it is because you want to share your godly energy, you want to touch people, and most of all, this kind of persons have very excellent genes. So, from natural instincts, you want to share your genes too. So, you want to share your genes and you want to share your godly energy. And if that is going hand in hand, you create a very warm, strong, sexual male energy around you, and you want to share this to the world. So, therefore, Osho and the Buddha and Jesus and and Rasputin had a very high sexual drive towards women. That is something what's going hand in hand if you're following this path of enlightenment. So break through the matrix monogam systems and be open and free and lovable without condemnation, without self condemnation, or what I mostly say to clients is self-restrainment or self-slavery. We have to understand that the matrix is an asexual organism where monogamy is still implanted in your system and creates self-slavery, and mostly men and women together are suffering from this monogam dark shadow around you. You can be perfect, open and free with emotional bonding. It can go hand in hand. So this mad monk from Siberia was actually following the natural path to create children first on a young age and grow towards diversity and variation with females. So searching for God and a high sexual drive goes hand in hand. And therefore you don't learn anything from your priest and your so-called institutional religion leaders, because they're full sexual suppressed, and goes a lot of times into homosexuality as a subversion, as a perversion. So the institutional religion never create an enlightened guy. An enlightened guy creates himself outside the systems, creates himself in the natural environment. So he can only explore his freedom and his wings in a forest, in a non-boundary matrix environment. He has to fly, has to free his wings out. He cannot develop himself in the religion, traditional matrix, dogmatic boundaries. So you see so many people are stuck in the traditional religion philosophies because of these strict boundaries where sexual touching behavior is condemned. And if it's something is condemned, is going underwater and create mental depressions and mental disturbances on later terms. Sexual drive, the mad monk, but the mad monk was actually the natural guy. The natural guy against the matrix-shaped people. He was a mirror for the rest. His calmness, his gentleness, his relaxing, charming, God charisma giving personality. He was a mirror for the society. Jealousy is upon him. He was a mirror where jealousy is putting out on him through media. The same as Socrates, the same as Osho, the same as Buddha, the same as Jesus, where they put a crown, a nasty crown of his head from you are the savior, you're the savior, trust. Show me you're a savior, we hang you on a cross, and if you can't save yourself, where is your God? Where is your God to save you? You're little saying you're the Son of God? Page 5 Rasputin is everything, and Rasputin is everywhere. If one guy is finding the source, if one guy is creating magnetism in his soul, in his being, in his line, in his chakras, in his meditation, he is everything. Universe is in him. He attracts everything. He attracts the light, he attracts the dark. He is everything and he is everywhere. He has to spread. He has to share. He has to become in the minds of people to transform them to higher spiritual realms here on human earth, to bring earth a little bit further in their evolutionary process. So they say Rasputin was everything and Rasputin was everywhere. He was everything and everywhere because he was the treasure, the treasure of the holy diamonds in his body. He was finding something what other people didn't found. So he was everything and everywhere. And on page 6, I'm only on page 6. I'm only on page 6 from the 680 pages. So he was full of slander. The Matrix steals your energy, and the Matrix wants to put you down if you become light. If you become hyper intelligent, if you become hyper intelligent and enlightenment, the Matrix wants to get you down through media to their own level. They feel insecure next to you. If you are growing, they want to get you down. Your best friend will criticize you if you're going on a diet. Your colleagues will be criticizing if you're going on a diet, if you change your food behavior. If you're going into meditation, your girlfriends or your friends will saying to you, stop with it. Stop with your meditation, because that is maybe creepy, or you're going into kind of sect. That's also a thing. You have, of course, watch out for fake sects and for crazy teachers, uneducated teachers, non-bereadable teachers, teachers who are fake, yes. But also the Matrix people could condemn you that you probably will be in a prison of a sect if you're following some spiritual guru. But that is a natural path. It's a natural fitting path because you're growing out of the family, you're growing out of your work dynamics further in your energetic system. So going into religion activity outside the standard forms is your natural searching, finding way. It's fitting by you. And on page 21, Rasputin say something exalt you. Something exalt in your inner being. Exalting. You are transforming. You become a new man. You create an other life full of religious ecstasy. You don't have to take the drugs. You create ecstasy towards meditation and you become in a kind of dream state. You're flying away from the matrix dimension. You're flying away from the matrix frequency. You transform yourself towards higher spiritual realms. Yes, you can escape. Yes, you can transform yourself. Yes, you can create another life for you. He was always moving, and that is typical and natural process, and also process from enlightenment is that you grow out of the fixed groups where you are in, what not to live for the grow you wanted, and not to grow what is fitting by your energetic system. So you move around. You move in your city from place to place. You move quickly between people. You move from city to city, what Rasputin did. So you are quick everywhere and you're never fixed in social dynamics anymore to remove the chit talks from the matrix, the talks where nothing goes, remove from the slander, remove from the gossip talks from your girlfriends or friends, the empty talks from the matrix you remove when you move quickly from short talks to short talks and just smiling and say, yes, you're right, wonderful, enjoy the weather and the sun, bye. And you give depth, attention to the ones who are on your spiritual level, who are receptive to you, who you feel really good are. And that people you can meet, what I do, just on the streets. You can select on the streets. You can scan thousands of people, and where you find an energetic click, a relationship, a connection, you can say hi to them or to her or to him. So I live actually only with happy and healthy and mental healthy people around me, except my clients, to enjoy my life. If I don't like someone, I step aside. If I don't like the energy, I move away. I dump the dirt of the matrix. I walk in life. I connect only with high value people. Otherwise, I leakage energy. So social day love is in selecting mechanisms that you don't have to go with people who needs maybe 10 years of coaching to come on a certain level. You can easily drop them from your shoulder. But when I was in the matrix, I had to deal with fat colleagues. I had to deal with stupid people. I had to sit there, and I was tired all the time of those stories, of those low energetic fields around me. So when you go into spirituality, there is a choose. You can choose your own people. That's the story behind. You can choose your own people where you want to hang out with. And that's an immense freedom, because if you're locked up in the prison of the matrix, you have to deal with your family. You have to deal with your old school so-called friends. You have to deal with maybe your relationship where you're fixed in. So the matrix is actually a prison. What you don't know, that's a prison. So that's also related towards the self-slavery, right? Sometimes you don't know that you are active in a prison. You don't know that you live in the matrix, fragrancy, mediocre prison. You don't know that you can raise yourself up and step out of the prison of the matrix. So therefore you see so many frustrated persons because they are stuck in the prison of the matrix. I want to get out this prison, but they're thinking, oh, get out, but there is no prison because I don't know that I am in a prison. So if you don't know that there's a prison, you become frustrated and you react on your direct environment that you're so frustrated because you don't know that you're in a prison. So someone has to tell you that you're in a prison. But mostly the people who don't listen to their coaches, they're staying the same and the same and the same person year in, year out, and they never and never transform, and they never find God's consciousness like Rasputin did. He had a rare inner wisdom. A rare inner wisdom, page 24. Rasputin had an inner wisdom, very sharp, very high charisma, inspired by God, and lead people as a spiritual guide towards enlightenment, towards religious awakening, towards ecstasy. He was a spiritual guide for people, and he was an awaked guy, and he wanted to show his spiritual energy with the Tsar. And that's also a lot of times the case, is that those people are not giving seminars to thousands of matrix people, but they are close to a few powerful people to share the spiritual energy and raise them up personally, that those people can share it again to that people. So you can send God energy to powerful people, and those powerful people can share it further. Maybe is that more efficient, and Jesus wanted to do that. But they hated him. The big egos of the leaders will hate this guy because he's trapping on the egos of the leaders. A spiritual guy is always in conflict with powerful people because mostly they have big egos. And once you want to become enlightenment, once you become further in life, you have to dissolve and kill your ego. So they need them the most. This guy, the powerful people in the world needs this guy the most, but also hatred this guy the most. It's a strange paradox. A very, very strange paradox. They hate him, but also they need his love. So Jesus was, from the old stories, hanging on the cross. They let him alive and escaped towards India, where he had a very peaceful end of his life. He escaped to India, moved away and give up his journey to transfer his energy to the leaders of Judea. He was going to India and share his energy to the people who were coming to him. So he was give up his journey in Judea. He had a very natural, rebellious inner vibe. He was rebellious by nature, Rasputin was rebellious by nature, and you have to be rebellious like Buddha, like Jesus, like Osho to escape the matrix boundaries. You have to push yourself further to escape this prison of the matrix. You have to escape and you have to be rebellious to grow in your personal development. You have to find the borders. You have to find the borders of the matrix to break through. So it's always the same ritual that a spiritual leader is rebellious. A real spiritual leader is rebellious because intelligence is rebellious. You have to move towards freedom. And if you want to explore real freedom in your life, you have to break through the boundaries of the matrix. The boundaries of the matrix. Escape the matrix frequencies is pushing yourself towards the boundaries of the matrix. And he had a very feminine face, very gentle face. So he was really an alpha guy. Really an alpha. He was male and female together. He had a very feminine, gentle, nice face. And he can also behave like an animal. So you see here the feminine and the male energy in totally balanced. And the most guys develop only the so-called fake alpha energies. They try to pretend that they are alpha. They do tough exercise in the gym and show their muscles and show their car and show what kind of ego position they have in society. All fake ego, alpha, magnetism. You know women, right? Women. You know the fake alphas. There's so many fake alphas in society and they don't work about their charisma. They don't work about their empathic feelings. They're all the same and the same. The most guys are the same and the same. They're hanging before their cars to show off on the side of the street. They playing the social game in the club and handshake everyone. They have their bling bling and their brand clothes. And you women, you know that right, that's all ego. And you pick the right, the real alpha guys out of them. They don't need that show off, that outside compensating mechanism. And when I pass by those guys, they're in shock. They think, what the fuck, what's going on? I feel so insecure next to this guy. This guy fucks around like crazy. And I'm standing here for my car to show off. And then this guy is coming and walking next to you, and you feel very, very insecure next to me. Rasputin was not a guy who teaches for big groups, and I like that philosophy. I'm also not really into that kind of seminars where the information becomes flat, where there are different questions with different backgrounds. I cannot serve everyone in big seminars. I'm not a man of the crowd. I cannot do that. I cannot do that. Organizing all those big seminars. So I'm in the line of Gandalf the Grey, Gandalf the White, of Lord of the Rings. I choose my people. I'm not giving teachings for big groups. You can see my videos on YouTube. You can do your thing with it. I'm not teaching for big seminars. I'm not a crowd guy. I teach one-to-one for the people who want. And that's also in line with Rasputin. He never give big seminars. He was alone. He chooses his people wisely and put all his energy to the few people who were at his level or close by his level or are very adaptive for his energy. He was an excellent orator. He can speak very well. He can speak very well for the people who were close to him. He had green, depth eyes. Green eyes are mostly spiritual. Loaded eyes are eyes who are further. Green eyes, green depth. Hypnotic eyes, shining eyes, peaceful eyes, attractive eyes, brilliant eyes, inflamed eyes, and eyes full loaded with magnetism. So if you're growing spiritual wise, your eyes changing. Your eyes are changing from more matrix shaped aggressive eyes, egocentric eyes, but they change towards more depth, spiritual, mysterious eyes. So the new man, if you're transforming yourself, your eyes are changing. You really, really can change your eyes. You not only can train your body in the gym and train your shoulders, but you can also train your eyes. If you're going deeper in meditation, you really, really, really can change your eyes too. He had a mysterious character. Yes, people are saying that mostly if a guy is going into meditation and spirituality, mostly 1-2 teachers per country in the world are going into real spirituality, all those fakers around, all those so-called people reading books without showing that they're reading books, all those fake coaches around, all those fakers, mostly 1 or 2 people are going really into spiritual teachings, 1 or 2 per country, and they say, yeah, they are so mysterious. I am not mysterious, I am just a depth person with deeper lines. I have just an old soul. So I have deeper layers. That's nothing mysterious. I'm heavily grounded on earth. I can discover your soul. I can discover the mental blockades in your system. That's nothing mysterious. The Matrix people are condemning this guy that he's mysterious. I'm just a depth person with deeper layers and grounded knowledge. That's nothing mysterious. On page 141, he had an aura around him. The spiritual aura were visible, especially from people who are very sensitive, can feel the halo or can see the halo around his head, can see the light field around him. He was spiritual loaded. He was an enlightenment person. You can feel the intensity of his spiritual aura. So in his biography, Douglas also mentioned this, that the spiritual aura was visible. People could see his peaceful aura and peaceful vibe around him. The aroused man, the abnormal man, No, he was not abnormal. He was following the natural path. If you're going into spirituality, you're following the natural path of life. There's nothing abnormal. There's nothing mysterious. And he had a sex with a large number of women. Yes, also that is for a man very, very natural. He had an authority look. If he's walking on the streets, people are thinking this the boss, this the emperor of the city. He's the emperor of the city. He was the boss of the city. He was the emperor of the city. He was the real leader of the city. The real Tsar even. He was the real leader because he was founding the source. He was founding his diamonds in his body. He was founding God consciousness. So he had an authoritarian look. He had an authoritarian vibe. I don't want to transfer to myself, but if I walk in the streets, people are thinking, who is this guy? Is he the boss of the city? Is he a police agent or something? I heard. You have an authoritarian look. And you have a lot of self-assurance, self-security. You're really self-secure. And people are thinking you're arrogant. No, I'm not arrogant. I have self-respect. I have a lot of self-confidence. I was arrogant when I had a low confidence. Then you're compensating yourself with an arrogant outside ego wall compensating mechanism. So if you're very self-insecure, you try to shine to the outside world. How more you meditate, how more you feel your treasures, how more real confident you become. And how more confident you become, how more matrix people are thinking you're arrogant. Because how you can be so self-confident, you have to overcompensate. It's impossible because you have to overcompensate. Because you are self-insecure. So you transfer this magnetism to that only guy who are coming once in 100, 200, 300 years. The Enlightenment awaked guy is coming there. You think, how is it possible that he walks with so much charisma and flair and calmness on the streets? He has to overcompensate. He has to have a fake chillness around him. It is fake what he is doing. He has some trick. I want to know this trick, why he is so chill and why he is so confident in his talk, and how it's possible that he's going home with so many women. How is that possible? He has to show off a little bit. Where is his Ferrari? Where is his Rolex watch? Where is his ego overcompensating mechanism? How is that possible? You transfer your own insecurity mechanisms towards that only 1 or 2 or 3 mirrors in society. Learn from me. Please learn from my experience. Learn from all the books I read. Please be open and learn. Don't shoot in the competition mood. Don't compete with me. Don't fight with me. Learn from me. Be open to learn. That's what Rasputin shared. Learn from me, please. Maybe you can find me abnormal. Maybe you can find me mysterious. Maybe you can find me strange in my movements, in my female and male balanced energies. Maybe you find my eyes strange. But learn from me. That is what Rasputin shared to the world with his healing powers, where he saved the son of the Tsar, when he influenced the Tsar because of his authoritarian vibe. It is not hypnotizing. It is not creepy, captured someone's mind. It's just peace, what he wants to share. And I have to penetrate you with my eyes to become close to your real soul. They say the penetrating, inflaming, hypnotizing eyes are needed to change you, to provoke you to something. You have to come close to me. And he was very direct and honest, very direct in his opinions, and he was real and honest. And in the ego society, it's always that it is a teacher, so I have to be polite to the teacher. Oh, that guy is Minister President, I have to be kind to him because he's Minister President. So the ego is raising people up who have a kind of high ego positional hierarchy standards, and the cleaner on the street you treat bad. That's what I see. A big ego is hanging above and putting people down, more down. And I treat everyone the same. I see the personality behind. I see the personality behind the ego world. So he was very direct and honest to the generals of the Russian Empire. He was very honest to the Tsar. And that can hurt the egos. The egos cannot handle this guy because he is so direct and honest. So sometimes I have to temper myself a little bit, because it can also be a little bit hard for people. But I don't want to hurt people. I want to heal people. I want to provoke people to let something grow inside. So that's a sign of spiritual leaders who can be very, very direct and honest from the inner soul without filtering. So he was kind of childlike with his sexual things. And he was walking around along prostitutes. He was saying goodbye and hi to prostitutes. He was picking up prostitutes and going to bathhouses. And the same Jesus was doing also. He was connected with prostitutes. Why? They touched so many people. They were highly spiritual. They have their own room, their own space. They have not really colleagues. They're not close to matrix people. That's something spiritual, right? Prostitutes. They're heavily spiritual loaded people because they're so touchable. And they're so lovable unless the rejections of the matrix people, the condemning of the matrix people, they break through that patterns and say, I'm a prostitute, fuck you all. Literally and figuratively. I'm standing there for the window and I'm shining there. And you can say whatever you want to say, family members or church members. I do my job full of love to kick out the sexual suppression of the matrix. So he was connected to prostitutes like Jesus was too. Jesus was saying prostitutes can reach heaven earlier than priests. And that's so true. That's so true. He was more in the body energetic transmissions than the priests were in his dogmatic teachings. This goose, this bad, all those morality, all those false morality to suppress the matrix, to listen to the matrix leaders, and to suppress your soul and your development. If they suppress your soul, you only can work and make children, and that's your life. You never become real free. You never get the key to escape the prison matrix. He had only respect for the Tsar and for God. And also he was heavily connected to the Jews. And that's also a phenomenon. High spiritual, high connection to Jews like Jesus, like Osho, like Rasputin. Jews are heavily into occultism and spiritual development because they're further in life mostly, and they're isolated from the matrix. So Jews and spiritual leaders are connected, and I have also a lot of Jewish followers. So Jews occultism goes hand in hand. They are further than the rest. They develop themselves further. So also Rasputin was going with them a lot of times. Not from the beginning because he was still imprinted by the matrix philosophy of anti-Semitism. And later he discovered that it was okay with them. And he had interesting talks with the Jews in the Russian society. I want to end this wonderful book report of Rasputin, 680 pages, and I wish you a very wonderful day. Bye bye.